up here and do a speech. Everyone and anyone is able to come up here and do a speech. So I really recommend everyone does, and everyone comes up and says something when they get the chance. Let's see. So tonight my topic is Shama Ghariban. We all know what the tragic events that took place this night. Everyone's heard it from childhood. Everyone's come to the masjid each year. After Imam Hussein alayhi salam was beheaded in front of his family, all the tents were looted and set on fire. Bibi Zainab was distressed. She turned to Imam Sajjad alayhi salam and said, "You are our Imam now. Tell us what we should do. Should we stay in our tents and burn? Or should we go out without our veils?" Imam Sajjad told her it was their religious duty to make sure that they saved their lives. By this time, all the women and children who are now orphans and widows had scattered. Just as if you would take your prayer beads and you rip it and it just scatters and all the beads go everywhere. That's how all the children and women had scattered in different directions. Zainab gathered all of the widows and orphans and waited outside until the tents burnt down. They all took shelter under one tent that still had remained. Humayyad, son of Muslim, described how he saw a little girl with her dress on fire, ears bleeding, running from the scene of the carnage. He says, "I ran after her. I took her by the hand. I put out the fire of her dress. I wiped the blood off her ears." She said, "You look like a nice person. Are you Muslim?" I told her yes. She said, "Can you please show me the way to Najaf?" He said, "Why? In this state, why would you be asking me that?" She said, "I want to go and complain to my grandfather, Ali, son of Abu Talib, about the way they killed my father." Realizing that she was Hussein's daughter, Sakina, he took her hand and took her back to her aunt, Zainab. Now Imam Sajjad is laying sick on the ground, surrounded by widows and orphans. There is no fire. There is no light. Only the moon casts a dark light above them. Salawat. Omar, son of Sa'ad, orders one of the widows to take food and water to the ladies and the children. Zainab walks towards her without even realizing she has food and water to offer, and offered her condolences for the death of her husband. A woman who had just lost so much, suffered so much, carrying so much grief inside of her heart, hasn't ate, hasn't drank, has so much responsibility at this point, is still saying her condolences to the enemy of the people who killed. So from this we must take the Islamic ethics and manners that she showed us. Imam Hussein and his brave soldiers died hungry and thirsty. People who martyred them were bringing bread and water to their widows and orphans. Zainab remembered that her brother's words were to give Sakina water first. When she approached Sakina, Sakina was sleeping. She gently stroked her hair, woke her up, said, "Here, my dear, here's some water. Please drink a little bit." Sakina wakes up and says, "Has my uncle come back? Has my uncle come back?" She said, "No, this was given by one of the women." Sakina walks up to the woman's window, thanks her, and says, "Have you drunk all the water?" Zainab shook her head, "No." She said, "Then why are you asking me to drink the water?" She said, "Because you are the youngest." Sakina says, No, Ali Asghar. He is the youngest. She grabs the jug of water, runs over to his grave and says, "Wa wayla, wa wayla." So from here, everyone knows what happens. The inhumane they were treated. The family of the prophet. They were in chains. They were tortured. They were disrespected. Widows, orphans. The guards carried a spear with Imam Hussein's head on it. Women died along the way. Children died along the way. They finally arrived at Yazid's palace. Yazid says, how did you find the way that Allah treated you? The way He treated you and your brothers and your children and your family. Where is your God now? The God that was so loving and wonderful to you. In her famous speech, which everyone must look up and read word by word, as it is very, very powerful, she says, she goes up to a place where she can be seen at all angles and says, I saw nothing but beauty. It is because of the words of Zainab that the world came to know of this tragedy. And that is why we are still here today speaking about it. Salawat. Who is Zainab? Granddaughter of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, daughter of Imam Ali, daughter of Fatima alayhi salam, sister of Hassan and Hussein. Someone from this family is built strong. They are the infallibles. Why is it that she didn't suffer any kind of mental illness after this tragedy? Any one of us would have suffered. How is it that she was able to endure the tragedy, handle the torture, as well as take on the responsibility of protecting everyone in her camp? Not only because they were infallible, but because they had faith. It's shown in studies that faith alone is not enough. You have to have faith, and you have to be connected to a faith group that you participate in. And you also have to take responsibility. A sense of responsibility is also one good coping mechanism for people who go through tragedies. So our issues today, they're nothing. They're nothing compared to what they went through, obviously. Our parents, grandparents, everyone sitting in this room almost, they went through great trauma and hardship to get us to America. We're all sitting in this mosque because of them. So it's common to have stress reactions to trauma, but how is it that most of us don't suffer from anxiety, PTSD, and other mental illnesses, despite all the trauma that we've gone through to come to this country? We are gharib in this country, all of us are. Because we're connected to this faith, and we have these people to look up to, because we've heard these stories. And because a majority of us participate in faith groups. So it's very important to remember, it's not just about having faith, it's about participating within a faith group. That is what makes you cope with preventing you from having mental illness, even if it's there. So a little bit about myself, I work with a severely mentally ill homeless population in San Diego. So day in and day out, I get to see the worst of the worst cases when it comes to mental illness, when it comes to people in tragedy, when it comes to people suffering. Most of these people led normal lives, just like you and I. They lived normal lives, they went to school, they have families. And obviously there's biological link, there's hereditary. But these people sometimes, something happens, a tragedy strikes them, or they have even a small thing that happens to them, and they don't have the right environment, they don't have the right support, and they don't have anything to lean on. So they end up homeless. They end up homeless on the streets, they have no one, and what do they turn to? They turn to drugs and alcohol, prostitution, to fill that gap that's within their heart. Working with these individuals, what I have learned from working with them one-on-one is most of them that have recovered and have started taking medications and have started living on their own again and having normal lives, it's because they said that their faith brought them back to it. They became close with God again. They have that connection with God again. And one lady told me, she said, you know, no matter what drugs I did and no matter what alcohol I drank, that gap in my heart wasn't filled. Until I joined a church and I started going to church and I saw people cared about me. And they asked me questions about how my day was. Why is it that in our population, Muslims, in our culture, why is there such a stigma against mental illness? It's not talked about. It's whispered about. Nobody does any research. If somebody thinks that their parent is suffering from mental illness, anxiety, depression, it's some serious stuff. And yes, by participating with the masjid, it helps. By having a community, it helps. But sometimes it's not enough. Sometimes you need to go see a psychiatrist. Sometimes you need to see a therapist. Don't let it get to the point where it's too late to turn around. So I think that from here, we should start making it a common thing. We should start talking about mental illness and how it affects people. And if you are feeling that way, to talk to someone, even your friend, you know? So the reasons why they say that coming to masjid or church or any kind of community where you're spiritually connected with God, there's a few reasons why it helps you deal with things like PTSD that most of our grandparents or parents have gone through traveling to get to America. So spirituality has a connection to the sacred, and it encourages trauma survivors to seek healthy communities that can direct and address symptoms. So they can just talk. They can just talk. The person sitting next to you, you have no idea what they've gone through in their life and what their parents have gone through. So people need to talk to each other. And when you see that your friend who came to the masjid every single night or came once a week and has not come for 3 months, it's your responsibility to call that person and say, hey, what's going on with you? I haven't seen you. You haven't been around. Oh, you're busy? Okay, well, if there's anything you need to talk about, call me. My ears are open. Just so that they know that there's someone there that cares, that notices. Because that one phone call, that might save their life. There's guilt and shame associated. People that are either depressed, have anxiety, there's a lot of shame associated with it. And when they come to church or they come to mosque, they feel like there's self-forgiveness. There's an emphasis on self-forgiveness and how God forgives and compassion towards one another. Anger and irritability. Beliefs, practices related to forgiveness can address anger and chronic hostile attitudes. So the way we treat each other at masjid needs to improve, and everyone knows this. I know it's crowded, I know everyone's hot, everyone's hungry, everyone's tired, but really everyone comes here to do azadari, and everyone comes here to get peace. And so when you pass by a person and they accidentally hit you, instead of just giving them the face, smile and say it's okay, you know? Just diffuse the situation a little bit. Hypervigilance and anxiety. So what dua and prayer does is it's a kind of meditation, and it calms that down within the individual. And it gives them a sense of purpose. We have Sunday school, we have Farsi school, we have Quran classes, we have a place for people to come make speeches. It gives people a sense of purpose. In the Quran, it also talks about how you can find inner peace. In Ayah 81 and 82, Allah tells us that Ibrahim alayhi salam says to the people, which of the two groups do you think deserves peace more? Internal peace. This ayah is about how people attain peace within their lives. People suffer from emotional imbalances that they have no control over. Sometimes it's not just a traumatic event that happens to you, it's hereditary. Your parents might have depression, your grandparents might have depression, and it was passed down to you. So there's depression, sadness, anxiety, PTSD, anger, all of these things that can snowball and turn into something much bigger if you don't seek help. And if it lasts for more than 3 months, you should seek help. And almost 99% of everyone in this room has insurance, and there's Iranian therapists, there's Iranian psychiatrists that can help you. So, is there a relationship with peace and faith? God says, those who truly come to believe and do not disguise their truth or faith with wrongdoing. In other words, wrongdoing is not just harming yourself, but others around you. So if you intentionally are trying to just harm somebody else, in the end it's going to harm you as well. And it's not going to give you inner peace. What is that quote they say where if you're trying to hurt somebody by throwing a hot coal at them, what's going to happen? You're going to burn your own hand before you even get to that person. Allah says if you're able to not do that, not harm others, and not do injustices of any kind, those are the people who will have peace. They will have peace inside of themselves. And that is what Fatima did for justice. She had peace within herself. They did the injustices to her. And always keep in mind, physical trauma and emotional trauma are just as detrimental to as one another. Some people think that if it's just physical trauma, it's worse. No, emotional trauma can be just as bad. When you come to the mosque, say you haven't been in the mosque for, 4 or 5 months, right? And it's Muharram, so we come to the mosque. When you walk into the mosque and you listen to the prayer, you find that internal peace that you haven't felt for a while. You don't know exactly what it is, whether it's the room or the people around you or the sound of the Quran, but you find that peace. And that's what keeps people coming back to the masjid. It's almost like toxic waste inside of your body being cleansed. Like, you know when you start trying to eat clean and like you're having salads every day? And at first it's not that great, it doesn't taste good to you. But then, after 2 weeks is over, your body's used to that. It's used to being cleansed. So then you go and you get that drunken noodle Thai food, and you're like, oh, I was so looking forward to this is so amazing. And you take the first bite and you get sick to your stomach, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is so greasy, I can't even eat this. Why? Because you've been cleansed. Your body is used to the cleansed food. And that's the same thing with your iman. The more you come to masjid, the more you pray, the more you do namaz, your body becomes cleansed. And you must, it also says in the Quran, that they're the ones that are committed to guidance. In other words, you must show commitment and keep that peace, otherwise it will go away. So keeping peace within yourself, it's something active. It's not stagnant. You have to work towards it. In the Quran it says, by remembering Allah, hearts become calm and tranquil and become of ease. So, just to tell you a little story about Karbala, out of all people, they say, Karbala is one of the places where you get invited to go. It doesn't matter how much money you have, it doesn't matter, what your wealth is, what your status is, where you're from, what your timing is like. If you're chosen to go to Karbala, you go because you were invited by the imams. I, out of all people, was chosen. I sinned just as much as everyone else. I was not that educated about Karbala, and actually, after doing this research for this speech, I learned a lot about what I saw when I went there, and I was even more amazed about what happened. Everywhere that I go, everywhere that I travel to, I try to take a piece of the land with me to bring back, just as a momentum. When I go to Iran, I like to take a piece of, like when I go to Imam Reza's shrine, like if there's like a piece of rock there, I like to take that with me. I like to take just little momentums with me. When I got invited to Karbala, everyone was first of all against it. All my family in Iran said, you are our guest from America, and you are our responsibility, amanat hasti, and we're not going to let you go. I said, no, I was invited, I'm going to Karbala. So I called my mom, and my mom said, your uncles are all saying no, but I did it. Istikhara, and it's fine, go have a great time, you're gonna come back safe and sound. So I went alone, a girl from America alone, and at that time I think I was 23 years old. Everyone was against it, I still went. When I went there, they were doing the reconstruction of the Zadi, and so they were not letting anyone do ziyarat. And so I got there and I'm like, really? I said, Imam Hussein, I came here just to pay my salams to you. I came all the way from America. I had to fight with all my family, and I can't even do that because they're telling me they're not going to let me in because they're redoing the Zadi. So I said, okay, think logically, what can I do? Well, Sayyid Qazvini is there. So I said to one of the men that was working there, I said, is Sayyid Qazvini around? And he's like, Sayyid Qazvini, what do you want with Sayyid Qazvini? I said, oh, I'm from America. He was at our masjid, and I just wanted to say hello. I'm visiting Karbala. And he said, yeah, he's up on the this and saying a lecture. I don't know how you're going to get to him. There's thousands of people sitting on the floor, so go try and see. I said, okay. I go, and his little son Haydar sees me, and he's like, his grandfather, so Sayyid Qatini's father was the one on the stage doing the speech, and Haydar goes to his dad, Dad, Atena is in Karbala. This is really weird. Like, what is she doing here? So he runs through the thousands of people, and he comes to me. He's like, Atena, Karbala, alone. What are you doing here? What's going on? I said I was invited to come, but I want to talk to your father because they won't let me go do ziyarat. And I came all the way here. This sucks. And he's like, yeah, I know. Well, let's wait and let's see what we can do about it. I talked to the Sayyid. He said, Atena, I have no pool. There's no way. They will not allow anyone to go in because there are still silver pieces on the floor. There are still gold pieces on the floor. They're assembling it. There's no way. So I said, okay, whatever. It wasn't meant to be. We're leaving tomorrow. Next time, if I get invited. I go back to where the man was, and he's standing against the wall, and he has a packet in his hand, and I thought, oh, maybe he's going to give me a, like the rice they give you, or the little green ziyadat parcha or whatever. He hands me something very, very heavy, and I said, what is this? And on top of it, he wrote a nice message. What it was the piece of rock that was hanging from the zadi above Imam Hussein's shrine, and he had handed it to me, and I had said not one word to him about how I like to take a piece of land from wherever I go. And trust me, I knocked on everyone's door. I asked a lot of people if I could take a little piece of tile or a little piece of this. Everyone said no way. If everyone did that, then what's going to happen? The whole thing's going to fall apart. No, you can't do that. This man handed me like a rock this big, and I invite anyone who would like to come see it to come to my house and see it. A rock this big that says Ya Hussein on it, and he said this has been prayed upon by thousands of angels because it was right above his grave, his shrine. At that moment, I was just in shock. I said, Ya Imam Hussein, I asked you, gele kardam ke chera man omadam, mano napaziridi و اینطوری جوابمو دادی. At that point, I said, you know what? I don't care if they're doing construction or what they're doing. I'm going to sit here, and they're going to let me in, and I'm going to go do my ziyarat. So I go and I sit by where the main door was. They had kind of like a guard around because of the construction, not letting anyone in. And I sat there, and my roommate comes, and she's like, what are you doing? Why are you sitting here? I said, well, because I'm going to go do ziyarat. She's like, no, you can't. There's no way. We've already been told this 1,000 times. There's no way you can do this. I said, I can do this. Imam Hussein just gave me the rock that I wanted. So I'm going to go do ziyarat too. She's like, they gave you the rock? How did you do that? The other person's, I'm like, don't worry about it. I got this. So I sat. She said, I'm not going to let you walk to the hotel room alone because it's like 4 o'clock in the morning. You're a single girl. It's not safe. I'll stay with you. Another roommate came. Little by little, people started gathering because they thought some big deal was going on and people were waiting around the haram to go ziyarat probably. It was about, at that point, maybe 500 people. The men started doing sinazani to the point where the chandeliers that were above were rattling and shaking. The whole room shook from the sinazani. Like you could just feel as if Imam Hussein was in the room with you. At that point, a man comes out and he goes, okay, everyone, we will let you go do ziyarat, but only one by one. So I don't know if you guys have seen the YouTube video of when the shrine was opened back up. I would highly recommend you look it up and look at it because it's like how Imam Reza, everyone rushes in and tries to get to the shrine. It was like that, but a million times worse. We got to go in one by one and do our ziyarat and come back out. And a lot of amazing things happened to me in Karbala, and it was a very, very good experience. It changed me as a whole, as a person. I encourage everyone to go. If you are invited, take the chance up and go. Oh, I forgot to mention one thing. One of the most important things. So after all this happens, I said, let's take one last picture between the two harams. And so we took the picture. There was a trash can next to me, and I said, no, like take another one because I don't want the trash in front. Let me move over a little bit. We took another picture. We get on the bus. We go on our way to Kazane. All of a sudden, 20 minutes down the road, all the cell phones started going off. And we're like, what is going on? That is super weird. Everyone is calling in the same time. We answered the phone. They said a bomb just went off in Karbala between the two harams. One of the engineers had thrown a bomb inside one of the trash cans and then it's exploded. Are you okay? At that time, it was years ago. My mom's telling me to be specific about the timing. It was years ago. It's safe right now to go. But yeah, and I'm here talking to you about it today. Nothing happened to me. I was this close to it. But when it's your time to go, you go. Don't be scared of anything. And pray for my mom, please. I see.
تشکر میکنیم.